What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Lineman Live podcast. Got a lot to talk about today. A lot of goodies to talk about. I am your observant lineman, Uche Waneri, and I'm joined here by one of my regulars, Ryan Kennel from RK Outpost and Sports Wars. RK, what's good, man?
Just living life, trying to get through some of these broadcasts. Some are better than others. But yeah, man, we got some crazy football stuff, some crazy stuff in the NBA. And Big 10 is back. They have eaten their words a month later.
The backtracking begins.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So let's start with that. Really, the Big 10. And I mean, dude, we've had a number of discussions about this, in our private chat on Sports Wars. Just, what is it that, what was the purpose of it? What were the concerns? And is it better or is it more efficient to have these players in an environment where they are kind of isolated, which would be with the teams that they play for in their facilities? Or, is that something that can create a risk in and of itself that people aren't willing to, put to the test with the football season also attached to that? And, it's kind of, I always felt like there was a validity from both sides, because I mean, I've been in, that camp environment when you're getting ready for a season and you're kind of basically sequestered with your team, and you're there in a closed down setting for a number of weeks. It is definitely a safer environment than just being out on the regular school campus. But also at the same time, after about 2 weeks, 3 weeks of that, like I remember when I was in college, I was sneaking out, going back to my apartment. I would sneak out and right as soon as we got back to the team hotel, which was on campus, I hit up a friend and be like, "Hey, meet me at my condo or my apartment, my little 2-bedroom with a teammate." And, I'd sneak up out of there. And that's always something that can happen. We've seen it with the NBA player from the Clippers, no less. We've had those discussions, but I think it's a great thing for these guys. I think it's a great thing to have these players back back to football, because a lot of these guys who are seniors, they're never going to get another shot at this. And a lot of guys who want to make it to the next level, this is when they want to put their best, work on film. And this is what people are going to be looking to really, that's where they're going to get, get their lottery ticket to get themselves into that next level. But also it looks like a big backtrack from what all of the science and stuff that they talked about as to why they were postponing the season. It looks like a big backtrack. It looks like they don't know. It looks like they didn't know what they were talking about, or they couldn't stick to their guns. They didn't have the conviction to stick to their guns. I mean, what do you think about how everything's played out?
Well, I do think that they did this. I think they tried to trying to win some points, right? Come out early, hey, we're the first ones. Look at how much we care, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally a virtue signal to come out. I don't know if it's because they didn't really want to put the effort into it. They didn't want to be maybe responsible for everything going forward, but they came out. They were the first ones. Hey, look at us. We did it first, hoping that everyone would fall in line. But then the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12 all say, nah, we're going to play. And the Pac-12, obviously, people over here on this side of the country are going to be much quicker to go ahead and shut down sports for everything that's going on right now. And we're going to be the last to open as well, regardless of how many cases are in your county, anything like that.
Yeah.
But it really, in a way, this is really divided down political lines in a lot of cases. And I wish it wasn't. Like, it shouldn't be that way. Regardless of what we're talking about, politics should not come into sports. But that's kind of what you had here. And all along the way, you had members of the media that are kind of pushing for the Big Ten to stay down, pushing for these other places to shut down as well. Follow the Big Ten's lead, sharing these articles about, and I think you brought it up one time too, the what is it, the
myocarditis.
Yeah, the myocarditis. And it turns out that big study that was going around was super misconstrued. The people who actually conducted the study came out and said, listen, I think people are running with this headline, but it shouldn't mean it's not safe to play football. So just in the same way with everything right now in the world, people are bending it to see however they want.
Yeah.
And I think it's very evident now that the Big 10 was wrong, and the Big 10 is now eating their own words, because there's nothing that's changed a month different. You know, it was a month ago they said we can't do it. The safety of the children, the safety of our kids.
Think of the children.
Yeah. And all the while the children are saying, hey, we want to play. The parents of the kids are saying, we want to play. Everybody's saying we want to play. And nothing's changed risk-wise for them in the next month. But now they're just saying, all right, I guess we'll do it too. And it's embarrassing to be a Big 10 fan right now, to be honest, with this shit going down.
Well, you know, I definitely was in that group that was talking about the myocarditis, just because of the fact that it's a heart issue. And when you're talking about, you know, 35% of the players who actually, you know, tested positive for COVID in the Big 10, they ended up having that heart condition as well, which really, at the end of the day, it comes down to being a liability issue for the university, not even the football program. It's the actual university that has liability that could become a real issue there. You know, I'm still interested to see what happens with this what was it, California University of Pennsylvania player, the D2 player who passed away from it, or they think he passed away from it. If that proves to be true, you know, where is the university going to be held liable, if at all, for that, you know, for that whole situation playing out the way it did? But you know, aside from all of that, you know, I felt like there's a point to be made in keeping players in their football environments and allowing them to play, because they're already kind of separated from the regular population of students on campus to begin with. And you know, once you get past the liability, then you know, you have the opportunity to, you know, really go in and move forward with the season. Now they're gonna have to have a testing protocol that's gonna have to be in place. I think they have to meet. They have to fall under 5% positivity as far as the results of testing goes. They have to be tested before every single practice. They have to be tested before every game. And if that positivity rate goes above 5%, then the entire team has to shut down for 7 days. Yeah. So
I think those are realistic.
That's reasonable.
You know,
I think that's reasonable. That's very reasonable, I think.
And we're looking at Major League Baseball. We're looking at the NFL, who are not doing these things in a bubble. You know, they're just not. You know, they're wearing the trackers. And, you know, if someone does come infected, they're able to use those trackers to find out who they came in contact with. Yeah. But, you know, these guys are able to do this without being in a bubble. And other than we had a couple issues in Major League Baseball, you know, early on, had a couple people had to sit out, or a couple teams that had to sit out for a week or so till everybody was good. But for the most part, they have been fine. And especially the NFL has had staggeringly low cases.
They've done a really good job, you know, and that was part of my logic was, why didn't the NCAA start pursuing the same kind of approach to this that the NFL did? Because the NFL, they had that little setback with the false positives that all came out. But once they got through that, you know, when they actually, you know, going into the first week, there were no players that had tested positive at all in the NFL, that's a huge win in terms of their ability to like protect their players from being infected. And, you know, the NCAA didn't choose to do any of that, which really, I feel like, have they taken an approach where they set an entire structure together that really, mandated that at least all D1 teams in the major conferences have to abide by these procedures in a way that the NFL did, we would have never even got to the point where the Big 12 or where the Big 10 and the Pac-12 were talking about, you know, maybe the Pac-12, because on the West Coast, it was, at that time at least, it was the cases out there were astronomical and still rising. But now I think you probably don't have both the conferences shut down at that time. You might have the Big 10, stay on course to play, but you have a unified procedural process by which the teams would adhere to. And it would at least keep everybody on the same page.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think that I don't really know why the Big Ten decided to do what they did. I think that after canceling March Madness, that's obviously a big hit to everybody's pocketbook when you're talking about the NCAA. And you know as well as anybody that football is what drives the machine that is
every other sport in your entire university.
Yes. You're talking about other, with the exception of maybe basketball, right?
Maybe basketball,
with the exception maybe basketball, for a lot of places, this is what runs all of your female sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
The money from football is what allows you to do your Title IX shit. So the idea of not having a football season, I think, was unacceptable to a lot of people. And when you have the players and the players, when you have the players, the coaches, and the players' parents all pushing you to open this thing back up and let you play, eventually they got backed into a corner. And I saw someone ask in chat, would you say Trump helped get the season started? I would say that Trump actually hindered it a little bit in the beginning, because I think that when he came out and was like, they should play, I think a lot of people's reaction is to just not do what Trump wants
do the
to
opposite of what he says to do.
Yeah. So even if it's the wrong thing, and if it's the wrong thing to do, they're like, well, he said this, I'm not going to do that thing. So I think
that's part of the double-edged sword of politics in sports. Once you start mixing it in, people will just people will go the opposite route of what anyone's saying, just in spite of what they're saying. So
but I think that ultimately that pressure from him led to other people pressuring. So I think eventually it did help. However, at first it probably made them want to reject it. Made these governors want to say, no, I don't want Trump to get a win in my state.
Yeah, no, I can see where that's the case in many regards. But moving on from that, I definitely want to get into talking about this Clippers collapse. My God, the Clippers played against the Denver Nuggets last night, Game 7, which, in and of itself, that was a little bit remarkable that Game 7 was needed when you were up 3-1 again, and you basically blew it. All of the picks that the Clippers gave away, they gave away their entire NBA drafts basically until 2024. And a number
longer
of players,
than that. They don't have a first round pick until 2027.
Yes, they don't have a first round pick till 2027. They don't have a first or second round pick in 2022, 2023, 2024, unprotected first round in 2020, 2021, 2022. I mean, these guys gave up the franchise to get Paul George. Playoff Paul is what they called him. And this bum, and look, Kawhi Leonard went to the Clippers on his own accord. He chose to go there. So if he has a bad Game 7, I can, hey, you had a bad Game 7. But when a franchise gives up their entire future on winning right now, and it backfires like this, this could, if they don't win, let's not even look past, let's not look further than we need to. They should have won last night. They had a double-digit lead in every game of this series, and they still managed to blow it off. But part of me is happy. It's hilarious that they lost. Like, everyone knows. Everyone's laughing at them. They're the laughing stock of professional sports right this moment.
Back to where they're supposed to be.
Go back to the basement, you troll. Back to the basement where you belong. But the thing about it is, I'm extra happy because I'm a diehard Mavs fan. And that whole shit that went down with Luka Doncic, which pissed me off because this ragtag group of superstars decided that they were going to, take all this stuff that was happening in the outside world and start trying to use it to weaponize it and target it towards Luka Doncic, who was a baller and who was a lovable guy. He just wants to go out there and have fun. To see them just collapse like this, and the look on the faces of all the players as they just watched all those aspirations of championship glory sink into the drain, sewage-filled, pus-filled drain. Made me a happy person. And there's a lot of people who are just just laughing their asses off at this.
But including Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum.
Oh, Dame and CJ.
Because Damian Lillard got into it with these guys because he missed those 2 free throws at the end of that game, like one of the first games in the bubble. And you had Patrick Beverley and Markieff Morris mocking him and stuff. Dame proceeds to go off to like score 53 games in a row, win bubble MVP. Now he obviously got hurt in that LA Lakers series. Could have changed the outcome of it if he doesn't dislocate that finger and then hurt his knee later on. Yeah. But they let them have it for good reason. You got Doc Rivers, who is now the only coach in history to blow 2 3-1 leads, both with the Clippers. One was against Houston, I think, and the other one was just now. It's embarrassing for them. Paul George, his entire playoff run was just terrible. The idea that you got all these people here that's like, oh, LA our way. Yeah, that they thought they were just going to waltz in and it was changed. I don't know what they do. I mean, you can't really move Paul George if that's what you want to do. Paul George has shown he can be a great player, a great piece of this puzzle, but he has had some playoff woes, and it doesn't just start here. This is not the first time this has happened. Back in his Indiana days, he came out small a couple times against LeBron. He was a much younger player, but still. It's funny. It was really funny to just scroll through Twitter last night, just see everybody blasting them, especially when you're getting lit up by Jamal Murray, who's this weak-ass Canadian bitch who drops 40 on him, and then Nikola Jokic, this fat motherfucker. I don't know how he's
chunky bastard just out here just dropping 3 balls.
Yeah, just moving the ball around, freaking whipping it wherever he wants. 22 rebounds. Embarrassing for them. That's 2 straight series that the Nuggets have been down 3-1 and come back
and they've come back and won it, dude. I mean. It was hilarious, dude. It was hilarious. I checked the score, and then when I saw the score when we were talking in the private chat, I saw the score, and I was like, holy. So I went and started watching the game. Dude, the Clippers looked gassed. They looked like they were tired. They looked like they were completely out of shape. And guys were just kind of like doing, and I know the jog because I've done it myself. Guys do the jog that's really a walk, but they're swinging their arms like they're jogging and just kind of dragging the balls of your feet like, trying to make it look like you're attempting to show effort, but really
trying to hide the fact that you're dead. Yeah.
I'm ready to take a knee and try and catch my breath.
Well, I think that there should be something said, when the NBA decided to, hey, we're protesting, Jacob Blake, we're shutting everything down. And you had this meeting. It was said that eventually the Lakers and the Clippers were the ones that voted to end the season, right? To not play anymore. From a mental standpoint, if you make that decision as a team that, all right, we're done, we're not going to play anymore, that can be hard to come back from. Oh, yeah. It really can. It can be hard to reset. You already reset yourself to get in this bubble. Now you may have mentally relaxed a little bit. And now you got to ramp back up, and they just didn't look like they ever had it.
They didn't look like they had it, and I think that sometimes in sports when you start believing your own hype, you kind of feel like the moment will just come when that chance to push over the top will just fall in your lap, and man, when you're playing at the level that these guys play at in competitive sports, like. This is for all the marbles. Why are you going to wait on the moment? Go create the moment. These guys shot absolutely horrid. I mean, Paul George. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard combined for 32 points. They combined for 32 points on 26% shooting.
Yeah,
26%. Paul George, 10 points, 4 for what? 16. Dude, I shoot better than that, and I ain't played basketball in years. And I got better field goal percentage than that all time. Shit, this guy is a bum.
It's been bad. It was bad for him all series long, and playoff P. He ain't never gonna lay. He's not ever going to be able to live that down.
That P is changing from Paul. I tell you that much. It ain't gonna be playoff Paul no more.
Yeah,
playoff puss. Playoff puss.
Basically,
I'm over here digging around looking for some stuff on Twitter, some funny stuff on Twitter on it. So I can, because dude, it was hilarious last night. There were so many amazing responses from people. Oh man. If you see anything, definitely let me know.
And what now it's everybody's like, oh, Kawhi has never been the best player in the NBA, right? That's now what it's saying. Whereas everybody, you can go back a couple months, everyone was saying that, oh, Kawhi won a championship with the Raptors. He's now the best player in the NBA. Now it's, oh, he's never been that. Max Kellerman's getting roasted today by Stephen A. Smith because at one point he said Kawhi is better than Kobe. So now he's just getting blown out of the water. Yeah.
Oh, Max Kellerman, stick to boxing, my friend. Stick to boxing, because you're out of your depth when you start talking about basketball and greatest of all time. Like, talking about Kobe and fucking Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is good. Kawhi Leonard could be that good, but not when you drop in 3-1 leads to the Nuggets. I mean, I'll be honest. It should have been 4-1, 4-2 at the best.
It's sad that today the Clippers had to come out and make a statement that says Doc Rivers will return as the head coach next year.
Oh,
that's how bad the blowback is, that they had to come out and say that.
He's, Doc Rivers is somebody I think needs a lot of blame in this as well, dude. You got to have your team ready. You should have known the one thing that can break your team above everything else is their ability to finish the games. And a lot of that has to do with, are you in good enough shape to finish the game? And guys are getting subbed out left and right, over and over. Like, guys are having a hard time keeping up. And really, that has the biggest effect on their ability to shoot. A lot of their shots were falling short. A lot of their shots were hitting front rim. That means you don't have the strength. That means you don't have the explosion into your jump shot to actually take your shot the way that you normally take it, which means you don't have the strength in your calves, you don't have the strength in your quads to explode. So you're out of shape. You're not ready to play for that length of time continuously. What you got here?
I've got a couple, just a couple things showing how arrogant this team was, right? This is Patrick Beverley. It's pretty much over for you guys now. He said that to LeBron after he found out the Clippers got Kawhi and Paul George.
Wow.
You got Lou Williams. We'll be the first team in NBA history that it's LA our way, and we can possibly hear boos at our own parade. I want to win it for that experience. So I already talked about winning the championship. Patrick Beverley told Steph Curry, the next 5 years are mine. Imagine Patrick Beverley. Curry, right? And then when you look at two guys that can play both ends, two guys that can get a basket, two guys that can stop you from getting a basket, elite on both ends, I don't see how you can beat that. Paul George talking about him and Kawhi.
This reminds me of that of the first super team that was artificially put together with the Miami Heat.
Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven.
And everybody was like, "Oh, they're going to win the championship. It was from the very beginning. They're going to win the championship." Lo and behold, my Dallas Mavericks, who I was hyped on, after they beat Portland in that Game 7 in the first series, I was like, "This is our year. This is our year. Dirk is ready," and he was ready. That was the best. That was the Miami Heat team that was Goliath. That was, they're throwing full court alley-oops. D-Wade threw a full court alley-oop that year. I remember all that.
LeBron was like, "Oh, I like being the villain. I don't mind being the villain. I'll be the villain. Everybody can hate me." Shut the fuck up.
I know,
LeBron,
right? Dude,
he's such a pussy.
You're such a pussy. You chose to put together a super team over just playing basketball and being the leader. You went to somebody else's squad. That was D-Wade's team, not his. And, he went and got his thing. He got a couple titles there, but still, those were afterthoughts to me because you're supposed to do it the first year. And they got smashed.
That whole speech, they were only wrong, to be fair, they're only wrong about one thing, not two. They did get two.
They got two. They did get two. They didn't get the first one. The first one we got in Dallas.
Well, in one of those, they
shouldn't have got it. Ray Allen saved them.
Exactly. One of those they come up against, an OKC team, which was not ready. That was kind of like LeBron when LeBron's Cavs made the finals that second year. Yeah, like they just didn't belong there.
They didn't belong in the same. Yeah, they weren't a mature enough team to even be in that position. They just got there off pure talent.
Yeah,
but
then you're right. If Chris Bosh doesn't get that rebound to kick it out to Ray Allen after that LeBron brick, then they lose that series to San Antonio, guaranteed.
Yeah, for sure. Now. One last little thing we can talk about before you ride out. I mean,
I've only got a couple minutes left.
Yeah. And this really, this kind of comes back to what's kind of been the story over the last week, with NFL ratings. NFL ratings, I believe they've updated. Let me see here. Let's see. Excuse me. I believe that there was an update. I'm not sure if it was on Monday or what, but they actually updated some ratings on.
Yeah, so the Thursday night, originally we got that report that it was down 16. Ends up it was only down about 12.5% for that Thursday night opener. And then the Sunday night ratings were bad. The Monday night ratings.
The Monday night ratings were bad too.
Down 21% and 38%. And one thing I will say is I watch most of Sunday on Red Zone, which is how I like to watch it.
Yeah, that's how I do it too.
So you can't really get too much of the broadcast, right? Because they're just flipping around between scores. And I think that's the preferred way to watch it, especially now. Monday was almost unbearable because the announcers were really bad and they were constantly talking about all the social justice initiatives. Constantly. And on ESPN, no surprise. So that was just a bad combination.
You know what? When I heard it was when there was a couple of them that were going on, and I heard it and I looked down to see what channel it was, and it was ESPN, and I was like, oh, okay. Because I was like, CBS already put it out there to their staff. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just talk about the game. Don't talk about all the extra stuff.
Yeah.
And and look, I recognize that is that's a chunk of the ratings have gone down because people are exhausted with the continuous talk of it. But man, it also just doesn't really feel like it feels more like preseason right now than it does the regular season. It looks more like preseason. These games are sloppy. These games are not very crisp. And, on top of that, not even having a crowd, I think you kind of realize how essential the crowd is to the experience of a football game, because the games don't feel exciting at all.
No, but the stupid fake crowd noise is dumb.
But they got to do it because there's no home field advantage at all. You don't have any crowd noise. It's quiet. That would be pretty awkward. There were some games, I think like the New Orleans Tampa game. I thought that was a good game. The energy of it. I thought that was the one game of all the games I watched where the crowd noise actually kind of made you feel like there might be a crowd there. Because it's in that dome.
A crowd that was really dumb because it was 5 or 10 seconds delayed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they would even if a ref made a controversial call, they would pipe in booze. They'd
pipe in booze,
which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah, it's only 75 decibels is the limit, I think. Which I think Sean Payton described it as a loud dinner party. That's basically so compared to what you would normally get at the Superdome to the opposing team, that's nothing.
Yeah. So opposing, for sure. And definitely it's that's part of, I think, why part of ratings not being closer in terms of, an 11% drop, I feel like is kind of expected, all things considered. Because you're not counting, and they're supposed to be counting it now, but you're not counting any of the sports bars and sports.
They are counting it now.
Now they're counting them. People are really split with different sports because for the first time, in sporting, everybody's kind of playing at the exact same time. So you have people who are watching basketball, you have people who are watching baseball, hockey, and then the NFL. The NFL's at the beginning of their season. All these other leagues, minus MLB, are in the playoffs. So, there's kind of a fracturing of the actual audiences because of multiple sports playing all at once. That's has something to do with it. So there's probably 5 or 6 different things that chip away at those ratings because the NFL is usually by itself. Basketball's done. Baseball is getting ready. Baseball's in their home stretch heading into the playoffs. And, it's really kind of a one-man show once you get past preseason and into the regular season. The NFL is the priority sport that's being watched. So, it's a little bit different than years past, but, that's, besides those things, yes, there is a portion of the demographic that is just not really wanting to deal with more of, the pandering being put into the game. And I agree. There's a lot of pandering. I think a lot more of the pandering is coming from everything around the sports, which is the talking heads on TV shows, which is some of the commentators. These are people who are creating that distaste because they continue to kind of preach to people.
Yeah, they're trying to virtue signal.
Exactly. If it were just the athletes having their message and then the messages in the end zone and that kind of being it, I think that people would be far more receptive, at least far more accepting, because you look at soccer and you look at FIFA and they had an initiative for years that was based around racism because of things that had happened to players on the pitch when they were playing. So they had like banners everywhere and racism. Guys are wearing armbands and racism. And I mean, that sport didn't really see any kind of measurable effect that brought down ratings or anything like that in their field because they had a targeted message. They put it out there and that was it.
Yeah.
They didn't have commentators and hour-long shows documenting and chronicling the entire movement. So we'll see how the NFL plays out coming into week 2. I think things will get better as we get through the season because that stuff will get kind of, the league is, and a lot of people may think one thing, but I agree with the sentiment that the league don't really care that much. The league just knows they can't ignore it. If they ignore it, then they're going to cause issues with their players. But they don't care that much. And the players care, but the players also don't mind, putting it to the side, at least on game day, because they're dealing with the communities all throughout the week. They go into the communities on Tuesdays, and work in the communities. I used to go and speak to schools every week. I used to go and, help do food drives, help take families Christmas shopping, all these different things you would do in the community to help people out who are less fortunate and just to, spread awareness about education and stuff like that. So there's action that players have been taking for years. And it's just part of that culture in football to give back to the community. So I think that players will begin to move away from it as we move forward.
I hope so. It'd be nice to just get away from it, focused on football. I do have to bounce though, Uche.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on, man.
Ryan Kittle, man, appreciate you. See you soon. Anytime. He's going to be over checking out the PlayStation 5 first. What is it? What's it called?
The PlayStation 5 showcase. So
PlayStation 5 showcase. That's starting in about 30 minutes.
After you guys are done here, hop over to Gaming with Geeks.
Most def. Appreciate you, brother, and we'll see you soon.
All right, talk to you later, man.
Yep.
Bye.
All right. So let's check out a super chat real quick. RC from NYC. He is one of our multi-month members. 750 super chat. What's up, Uche? What's up, Ryan? What's up, chat? Hope everyone is doing well today. And he's flexing with that boy Pat Mahomes, I see. Nice. Appreciate you, RC. Doing good over here, man. I thought it was really cool to see the Big 10 kind of bring it back and backtrack into restarting the season. And I really say that because of my own personal experience And knowing that these guys are there's a lot of senior football players out there, and this is kind of just going back into the college talk. In my senior year at Purdue was a year, at Big 10. I played in the Big 10. My senior year at Purdue was a year that I literally was in a do or die situation to make an impression on, scouts from the NFL. I was being scouted pretty heavily going into my junior year in college. And I got into an altercation with a teammate during our summer workouts. Long story short, his parents didn't like the fact that their kid got his ass whooped for trying to choke a teammate in the summertime after a workout. Dude put his hands around my neck, tried to, basically what amounted to a fight. And I hit him one time and I broke his jaw on both sides. So, his family tried to press charges. Police investigated. They deemed that, I was acting in self-defense, so there was no reason for me to be charged. As far as I was concerned, I thought that would be that. But the dean of students at Purdue suspended me from the university for the entire fall semester. And, little did I know that this dean actually had a pretty negative history with our head coach at the time, Joe Tiller. But, I got suspended from the university my junior year. So I wasn't even enrolled in school my junior year at Purdue. I was actually down the road at a spot called Ivy Tech, which I think now is Purdue, like a Purdue satellite, community college. I can't remember what they call it. Purdue Global, I think. Purdue Global is what it's called. So in all of this, I was suspended. I spent, 6 months just living at the house that me and my teammates lived at. Didn't really have any communication with my football team. Didn't really have any communication with people, with my own roommates who were my teammates. They were gone all the time, practice, all those things. So, my senior year, I had to be ready to play ball at a high level right now. And if I didn't have that year, if the NCAA or the Big 10 had decided because of a pandemic that they were going to postpone and, restart that season the next year, there's a fairly certain chance that I was not going to be in the NFL if that had happened. There's a good chance that I would have never played. And I can only imagine what that position must be like for players who are seniors on their teams right now in the Big 10 and the Pac-12, because really it's two conferences that were in, jeopardy of not really playing ball. And, I was lucky, I was able to get back on the team the following spring, get back into moving into the groove with the team. But, really there are a lot of players in college football who were not going to have an opportunity to play at the next level because of a postponement of the entire season. So, while it does prove that they were incorrect in their initial assessment, it's good on the Big 10 to recognize that and find a path to get their football back started up before things, really, really went down south for a lot of these college players. But this is going to be a short one today. Because I actually want to check out that PlayStation 5 showcase. But I really do appreciate Ryan Kennel for coming on. Ryan Kennel, Sports Wars. I'm on Sports Wars as well. You can find some of my videos there. Sports Wars is blowing up right now. It's really blowing up. It's really a cool thing to see. A lot of people are really jumping into what we're doing on the channel. Jeremy and Ryan handle many of the controversial issues, while me, I kind of deal with more of the straightforward opinion-based, commentary. So, it's a good thing that we got going over there. These guys have been working their asses off. I've been working my ass off as well. And I really do appreciate being a part of that group. Now, I know that, obviously we're all different personalities, but it's really a good thing. It's a good thing that the channel is really catching on the way it is. So let's help my channel do the same thing. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you tell your friends about my channel. Subscribe to the Observant Lineman, Uche Waneri. Now, let's see here. Let's take one more look here at what is going on. Now, let me see. So it's going to be the Lakers and the Nuggets. We've got the Heat, who I think, by the way, the Miami Heat are really doing a heck of a job in the way that they've been playing. But let's check out these week 2 power rankings because, quite honestly, there's a couple surprises in there. Whoa. Where is that? Get that out of here. All right. So let's take a look, and we'll run through this quick to end this podcast today because a couple things that I need to talk about really. New York Jets at 32. Let me share this with you guys so you guys can see it. All right. So number 32, we got the New York Jets. I think it's fair to say that this team is an absolute clusterfuck. It's a disaster right now with this team. They don't know what they are. They don't know what they're doing. And, quite honestly, I don't see it improving for these guys anytime soon. Le'Veon Bell appears to be, just a bust, a waste of money for them, a bad decision to make as far as management goes and picking this guy up. He hasn't really provided anything for this squad. I won't put it all on him because they don't really have a surrounding cast to really build upon. And, their quarterback, Sam Darnold, is, I think it's fair to say if he doesn't get something done this year that he's going to be considered a bust as well. But those guys have dropped from 25 to 32, down 7 spots. Next up, this one was a surprise to me. Miami Dolphins. These guys started off 26. They've dropped 5 spots to 31. These guys, man, I couldn't believe that they didn't provide more competition to these New England Patriots. They're coming into the game with Cam Newton at the helm. You kind of know what they're going to be about with Cam Newton. He's not a guy who's going to throw 40 balls a game. And these guys weren't able to really put up much of a fight. They get handled pretty soundly. And now people are wondering, when is it going to be Tua era starting in Miami? Now, as far as and I see in the chat somebody's asking about Pro Football Focus ratings for Lineman. I think the Pro Football Focus ratings they're 50-50. Look, I paid attention to a lot of the ratings that they did when I was playing. And they were I would say they were fair assessments and for the most part. But a lot of times it's hard to really it's hard to know it's hard to grade an offensive lineman on film unless you really know what play they're running, one, which, knowing the play is where you start, but also if the concept of the play may dictate that it's okay if a guy isn't perfect in his block because the play is moving away. So they're just really, their responsibility is more of a just be in the way on this block than actually dominate it. And you have to know those little nuances to understand how to grade guys based on where they're supposed to be in that block. I think they do a decent job. I don't think that I don't think that the way that they rate things is really the be all and end all. I don't think that by any stretch, because again, they're just going on the NFL Game Pass and looking at the All-22 film and trying to decide whether if a guy wins or loses, that's all they see, win or loss, and they give him a grade based on that. Now, if they lose badly, they may give him a worse grade, but for the most part, it's really a crapshoot sometimes with some of those guys, just because as a player, I know how a lot of things get graded, and they don't know that. So, hard to really talk about it. But let's keep moving through here. 30, we got the Giants. Giants look like they're still trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do. I mean, they're going to need Daniel Jones to actually, take a step forward this season. But they fall from 28 to 30. Now, these boys right here, Duval, tank this. The Jaguars welcomed a supposed AFC contender into their building on Sunday and stunned a world of doubters. 27-20 win over the Colts featured opportunistic play by the defense, which had 2 key interceptions, and beautifully efficient play by Gardner Minshew, who went 19 for 20 for 173 yards and 3 scores. Minshew spread the ball around to 10 different Jaguar receivers and played under control, while his counterpart, Phillip Rivers, forced the action. But we all know that's Phillip Rivers. He is going to force it, so you got to count that he might throw a pick every now and again. Could Minshew actually play himself into a long-term future with Jacksonville as a starter? String together a few more games like this, and he just might. Now, I think this is a great way to start the season for Jacksonville. I think it is a great way to start the season. I do. I tip my hat to the boys in Duval. I mean, you see back there behind me, that's what I bleed. I bleed teal and black. I am a fan to the core of the Jacksonville Jaguars in my heart, because that is the team that I played my entire career with. 7 years, Jacksonville. With all that being said, it's just one game. It's one game against a Colts team, which I've never found to be particularly impressive outside of their quarterback in the entire time that I've ever played against them. I have never looked at the Colts and said these guys are great on defense, because they never have been in my eyes. I've never looked at the Colts and said they're overwhelming on offense, because they never were outside of the position of quarterback. That is the position that the Colts have had the absolute luxury of having 2 elite level quarterbacks back to back. And now they got a third quarterback who was elite. He's hovering under elite and above good. I respect Phillip Rivers. I think the guy does a heck of a job. When he's on, he is on. When he's on, he puts up massive numbers. He's with a new team and a new offense. Didn't work out for the first week. But let's, give Jacksonville the credit where it's due. They got the win, and they got the win that, they absolutely had to have any kind of validity as a franchise. You're seeing a few teams below them that are struggling with that right now. But it's week 1. I don't see it getting too much. I don't see this lasting. I hope it does. I don't see it lasting. And I would expect that things will fall into balance sooner rather than later. I don't know what the schedule is for Jacksonville right now. Let me take a quick look. Let's see who they got coming up. Okay, they're going to be at the Titans. Okay. Then they got the Dolphins, then the Bengals. So they could potentially – then they got the Texans. Then they got they got kind of a softball schedule here. Wow. Well, the Titans is not going to be softball. I would assume by the time they get to the Dolphins, probably that's a toss-up game. The Bengals are looking pretty good. They lost, But Joe Burrow, that boy's balling. And, man, he can run the ball. He can run it. The boy's got some speed. Then you got the Texans. That one, I guess, the AFC South doesn't look as strong as I thought it was going to be this year. Not looking as strong as I thought it was going to be, but I would say the Titans is going to be a huge tell on how these Jaguars are going to perform, because we all know what Derrick Henry does to Jaguars when he gets the ball. He steamrolls their asses. That's what he's done his entire career in Tennessee against the Jags. Steamrolled their ass. So, while they do actually have a somewhat favorable schedule, at least in the first half, I don't really see this. I don't see it. I just don't see it. With all the things that they've done. Oh, wait, I'm looking. Yeah. With all the things that they've done, it's not. I just don't see that this young of a team is going to pull it together that quick and be able to be that consistent, because you got to be consistent to continue to make it in this league. Okay, Detroit Lions. Lions actually showed some stuff. They showed us some stuff in their last game. But at the end of the day, they couldn't pull that win out. They actually moved up 2 spots, though, to 28. 27, we got Carolina. Carolina, they are who we thought they were. They moved up, but they're only moving from 29 to 27. They ended up losing. Ended up losing 34 to 30. But they're showing some stuff. Joe Burrow, man, I thought he had a good game. And it says here that he gave himself a D grade after the game, but I mean, the guy made a couple of great plays. I mean, he had a couple of overthrows, but I mean, his scramble, his 23-yard scramble for the touchdown looked really good to me. Looked really good. So the Bengals are going to get better. I think they're going to keep getting better. These guys up next, however, my goodness, they're going through the basement floor as far as I'm concerned. They're going through the basement floor. We got the Cleveland Browns, who are 0-1. I mean, these guys got drugged by Baltimore. They dropped 6 spots to 19. Not really too much to talk about with Cleveland. They just suck. And oh wow. Things were even more distressing on the other side of the ball, where Baker Mayfield finished with an ugly 4.8 yards per attempt, and the dreaded Gabbert zone, referring to Blaine Gabbert, the first-round pick, 3rd overall from Jacksonville. Now, I actually take offense to that. I take offense to that, because I know the true story, the real story, as to why Blaine Gabbert's career played out the way that it did, and it's not his fault. He's bad because the Jaguars made it that way, and it's a long story to tell. We don't have time to do it here today, but I will get to that story. I will tell you guys. Maybe I'll put it in a video. Maybe I'll make a video that just kind of breaks down what happened to Blaine Gabbert, because it was really, really effed up what happened to Blaine Gabbert, and people don't know. So they're so quick to say he's just garbage, but people don't really know how his career was ruined. His career was ruined by the Jaguars. Had nothing to do with where he was drafted. Nothing to do at all with where he's drafted. His draft pick, him being drafted that high, there's nothing wrong with that. It had everything to do with the environment that he was drafted into, and and just mismanagement and complete incompetency from the moment he walked in the door, that put him in the worst imaginable position as a quarterback, as the youngest player in the NFL at that time, at 21 years old. Unbelievable. But we'll get to that on maybe in a video or in another podcast. Now, let's keep moving through here. Falcons, some dirty birds. They actually dropped. They lost their game. These guys lost in their opener to the Seahawks. It's a leaky ship out there. I feel bad for Julio. I know Julio personally. Feel bad for him because that really sucks. But hey, it is what it is. When you lose a Super Bowl, when you were up 28-3 and you end up losing it, this is what it does to your franchise. It destroys it. Next up, the Washington football team. These guys came out and actually balled. These guys were down 17-0. 17-0 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Man. And, these guys came back and won it. This defense that they have right now in Washington, they've got the best front seven, it looks like, in football right now. We're only 1 week in, so it's clearly an overreaction. But these guys had 8 sacks and 3 turnovers. Chase Young, Ryan Kerrigan, these guys balled out. Their defense balled, and it gave their offense the time and the life to come back and play some good football. So, with all that being said, kudos to the Washington football team. It seems as if almost karma is shining down favorably on them because of the decision that they made, maybe to change their name. Dan Snyder, I know you got to be feeling good right now because, man, that feels like karma to me. It feels like they made an admirable move in changing their name. And boom, you get a week 1 win, and you get a week 1 win in comeback fashion that can propel your team straight up. And you can ride that wave for 5-6 games. We did it in Jacksonville in 2010. We came out and we lost our first game. It was somewhat of a reckoning that we had to deal with our head coach. He was pissed. He called out everybody on offense, every one of us, even me, even yours truly. He called me out on a goal line play. I felt like he did it more because he had to, because he hadn't said my name yet, but he had said most everybody else's. So, I wasn't too mad. But we came back after that loss, and we rolled off 6 wins in a row, and it was crazy. It was crazy. But yeah, Chicago goes up to Mitchell Trubisky. Actually came through and played to win. He actually came through and played to win, and he threw 3 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter. That was huge. But has he turned the corner is the question that everybody's asking, and we're not going to have the answers to that after week 1. So Bears need to just keep doing what they're doing and hope that it plays out well with their QB. Denver 0-1. They went down to the Titans on Monday night in the second game. Denver is, it's another situation where quarterback has to show you that he can do something good. Their offense is looking pretty bad. They looked very sloppy. I begin to ask myself, should a lot of these, historically top tier franchises be getting these primetime games when they come out year in and year out and just lay an egg? They don't play the way you think they will. And Denver, Denver's got some work to do, but they're one of those teams that gets they get a couple of primetime games a year on Monday night. And hey, why? Los Angeles Chargers, they pulled off that win. They pulled up and got that 16-13 win against the Bengals. And it was a good win. Those were 2 franchises that were kind of in the same spot, as far as how are they going to move forward. Longtime quarterback is gone. You got young blood in there now, and how does this franchise move forward with a new guy at the helm at QB position? Well, they got to win. That's the best way to start moving forward. So they move up 2 spots to 20. You got the Las Vegas Raiders. These guys actually came out, played a good game, got a win, beat the Panthers. Really was good to see. Good to see. but we'll keep an eye on them. I don't really know what's going on other than a couple of players on their team who've been doing some good things, but hadn't really paid attention to the Raiders that much. Colts, I think we've already talked about that. Colts down 7 spots to 18. Eagles down 3 spots to 17. They've got a quarterback problem that they need to figure out right here and right now. We all know what it is. Carson Wentz. Minnesota dropped 6. Minnesota got the brakes beat off their ass by Aaron Rodgers, a resurgent Aaron Rodgers who's just not playing games this year. He said, I ain't playing games. I'm here to fuck shit up. And that's what he's doing. So they were the first victim. They dropped 6 to 16. Houston Texans somehow gained a spot. They played against the Super Bowl champs. So there's going to be a little bit of a benefit of the doubt given there. I can understand that. But not really a situation that I believe the Texans are going to come out of in a positive light when it's all said and done. We all know, all of us know, all of us except for Bill O'Brien, we all know that why am I over here? DeAndre Hopkins trade was that was just a fatal decision for that franchise to make. Fatal, because you see, as these two teams here stand, you see the difference between why one team is up 9 and why one and has a win, and one team is only up 1 and has a loss. And really, they're only up 1 because of the utter underperformance of many other teams that were actually ranked ahead of them that fell fell much further in their decline. So these Houston Texans are probably going to, I would actually pick them right this moment. Right this moment, I would pick them to finish last in the AFC South. Houston Texans. Yeah. Them or the Colts. Just based off of today. Not what's going to happen, but just making a guess right now, I'd pick them for the bottom. 14, we got Arizona. Arizona, man, these guys are looking dangerous. They are looking like they might have it all figured out in Arizona right now. They might have it figured out. You got Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. Unbelievable ball between those guys. Unbelievable ball. Huge season opening win. Defense balled out. Buda Baker was justified in getting paid. A lot of people scratch their heads about that, but it looks like the guy is definitely going to be a star for them for years to come. Tampa Bay. I don't understand how Tampa Bay doesn't drop. And that to me is that's more of this Tom Brady bullshit. They got their asses handed to them. Handed to them. How do they not drop? How do they not drop? You're telling me that that's a better team than these Cardinals? I would have moved the Cardinals up 10 spots. Drop these guys down 1. That makes far more sense. They don't drop and they lost. Not only did they lose, they got their asses kicked. Not only did they get their asses kicked, it doesn't look like it's going to get a whole lot better. How do they not drop? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm pissed off just thinking about it because they don't deserve. They deserve to drop. They deserve to drop. They went head to head, quarterback for quarterback, Hall of Famer for Hall of Famer, and they got their asses drugged. Tom Brady over here getting talked bad to by Bruce Arians like he a rookie QB. I mean, you're going to sit here and say the Tom Brady era got off to a sputtering start as the Bucs played far too sloppy a game to beat a loaded Saints team full of Super Bowl or bust in full Super Bowl or bust mode. Drop them. They shouldn't be in the same spot they started, as if that 0-1 don't mean nothing. Brady had 2 turnovers, One was a miscommunication with Mike Evans. Look, they're making excuses for him already. This is why people can't stand Tom Brady. This is why. People can't stand Tom Brady because every time he actually gets beat fair and square, the media makes excuses for him. Brady had 2 turnovers, one on a miscommunication with Mike Evans, and the other thrown behind Justin Watson and intercepted by Janoris Jenkins for a score. He threw a pick 6 and he threw a pick. He did what people have shitted on Jameis Winston for doing in his entire time in Tampa Bay. He did the same thing. And you know whose fault it is? Bruce Arians. I've been saying this to people on the low for the longest. Bruce Arians' offense is the most complicated, confusing offense that any quarterback can play in. Because not only are your receivers and your quarterbacks running an offense that is going to be spread out with multiple receivers, not only does the quarterback have to have an unreasonable amount of timing routes that have to be thrown on time, and not only that, but also almost all of the routes that they run in Tampa Bay are option routes. You know how difficult it is for a quarterback to make good throws on option routes? Even for Tom Brady, that's going to be difficult because you have to read the defensive coverage. You have to know what route your receiver was running, and you have to know if he is reading the coverage the same as you, and he's going to change his route at the option point based on what coverage he sees. There's a reason why Jameis Winston threw 30 for 30 last year. Because if you go back and watch each and every one of those interceptions, only about 10 or 11 of those interceptions were on Jameis Winston. There were so many times when the receivers ran the wrong route because they read a different coverage than what the quarterback read. So the quarterback reads it as one route and he throws the ball down the middle of the field, or he throws the ball into the corner outside the numbers when the receiver's running a route somewhere else. So at that point, you start tossing interceptions. You start chucking interceptions left and right because you're not 100% on the same page, and it's so complicated, and that's why a lot of teams don't run option routes. At least not with their number one receivers. Their receivers have usually a two-way go. If it's this coverage, he's running a deep, he's running this route. And if it's something else, he'll sit down. He'll sit down in a hole, and you throw the ball to him in the hole in the zone. But they're not going to run one route based on one coverage and then break that same pattern that looks identical into a different route because it's a different coverage. That's confusing, and that's hard. They shouldn't still be 13, but like we know, whenever Tom Brady's involved, can never be enough cheating. Now, to the team that he just left, New England Patriots, up 3 spots to number 12. Look, I'm going to be honest. They beat the Dolphins. I don't think they should have. I don't think that they necessarily had a better team than the Dolphins, but Cam Newton does provide you with a bit of a curveball because he's an average passer. Make no doubt about it. He's an average passer. Go check his stats if you want to. He's an average passer. Even when they went to the Super Bowl, he was an average passer, middle of the pack. He was middle of the pack when they went to the Super Bowl. He's been middle of the pack his whole career as far as passing goes. Not the guy who's going to necessarily win you a game, but also because of his athleticism, more often than not, he's not going to lose you the game. But he can still lose you the game because he's not a great thrower. Don't ask him to run a 2-minute drill from the 20-yard line with a minute 10 seconds left. Don't ask him to do that. That's too much. Now, if you want to give him 4 or 5 minutes where you can sprinkle in some run plays in that last drive to take the win, yeah, you can do that with him. and it'll work. It can be effective. But no, he's definitely not. He's not a guy that you necessarily want in place of 12, Tom Brady, when the chips are on the line with a minute and some change. But these guys got the win against Miami, moved up 3 spots to 12. I think that this kind of shows that Belichick, is going to find a way to win either way. Now, finding a way to win is one thing, but we all know these Dallas Cowboys. They're going to find a way to lose. They are going to find a way to lose, and they did just that up against the Rams on Sunday night. It was a stinker of a game. It was a boring as hell game. I only watched like maybe 15 minutes of it before I said, you know what? I'd rather play video games. But these Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, he goes for it on a 4th and 3. I would have done it. I would have did the same thing. I'm trying to win. How else do you want to establish a new culture within this league with a team that has had, bar none, man for man, the most talented franchise year in and year out for maybe the last 2 decades, and has done nothing but underperform, have not excelled in anything other than than being paper champs. These guys don't do anything that really, in my opinion, sets them apart from any franchise since they won their last Super Bowl. I think it's safe to say that this is the most underachieving franchise for what they have had. This is the most underachieving franchise of all time in the NFL. Their glory days are so far behind them that a lot of their fans weren't even born when they had them. So there are fans out there in Dallas, where I'm from. Shout out to Dallas, city of Dallas. That's where I'm from, born and raised. There's a lot of people in Dallas who do not even remember the Cowboys ever winning a Super Bowl. They don't remember Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin. They don't remember none of these names. Ken Norton Jr. They don't remember Deion Sanders at the Cowboys. They don't remember none of that. They weren't even born. So what does this franchise have to show for itself since 1995? You know what? I have to look it up. Let's look it up. How many playoff wins? I don't even care about divisions or nothing. How many playoff wins have the Cowboys had since 1995 when they won their last Super Bowl? All right, we got their playoff history right here. All right, so we'll start at 1996. Okay, so they have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my God, are you serious? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, let me share this. What am I doing? Let me share this. You guys got to see this. You guys got to see this. You got to see this. All right, so this is where the Cowboys won their last Super Bowl. January 7th, 1996. From there, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 wins. 4 wins and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 losses. So since 1996, that would put us at what? 24 years? In 24 years, the Cowboys have 4 playoff wins. And I think I said 11 playoff losses. And, this is actually there's still a gap in here where they weren't even making the playoffs. So really, 96, 98, 99, 2000. I mean, there's a 4-year gap right there. There's a 3-year gap right there. There's a 5-year gap right here. 2-year gap right here. 2-year gap right here. And a 2-year gap because it's 2020 and their last playoff appearance was in 2018 where they lost to the Rams in the divisional. So, with all that being said, with all that being said, these guys are the most underperforming, overhyped, overrated franchise in NFL history. So they dropped 4 spots to number 11 because it was actually really a consideration that they were a top 7 team in the NFL once again. Oh my God, whatever. Chargers are at number 10. They moved up 7 spots, getting that win over the Cowboys propelled them, but let's make no mistake, those guys aren't necessarily they're fighting back from all of the grifting that they've had to deal with over the last couple seasons since their Super Bowl appearance. And then we have the Niners. The Niners drop 7 spots to number 9. Yeah, the Niners got some issues right now. They got some issues. Raheem Mostert, Boilermaker. This guy ran 22.7 miles an hour on his catch and run touchdown. Highest speed of any player in the past 3 seasons. Boiler up. But these guys didn't really do much more outside of that. They ended up losing that game. They fell from 2-9. And we're going to keep moving. Seahawks move up 1. Woo. Seahawks move up 1 spot from 9 to 8. We all know who helped lead that. They shellacked them, those Falcons behind Russell Wilson. That boy is probably the best leader in the NFL right now, bar none. The best leader in the NFL. I'd be willing to go out to say that. But we got the Steelers. I thought this was a bit much it was a solid win on Monday night. Solid win. I wouldn't call it vintage Ben Roethlisberger, but it was good. It was solid. It was solid. And they move up 5 spots. I guess, when you have the Cowboys dropping like they did and the Niners, that might make some space for them. So Pittsburgh better than Seattle, though. I wouldn't put them up better than Seattle. But let's move on to number 6. We got the Buffalo Bills. They sit where they're at. Bills Mafia. You already know how those cats get down. Josh Allen's he's going to be a star this year, guys. I really believe it. He is a star. He's a star, and they're starting to really believe. They're really believing in this guy in Buffalo. So it's going to be big for them. Going to be big for them. Number 5, Tennessee. Only because they got the win, I hold them there. That game was a little sloppy, but only because they got the win, I keep them there. Obviously, Stephen Gostkowski. He still has a job. For those of you who are wondering, he still has a job. Don't know if it's the same way if they lose, though. Tennessee's sitting where they're at. New Orleans is sitting where they're at. Number 4. I think that New Orleans I think that's fine. I think the win doesn't really say much about New Orleans because they showed, before we got to the end of the third quarter, they showed that they had Tampa's number, and they showed that they were just a superior team from the ground up in that regard, at least in the first week. So I keep them at 4 as well. Green Bay actually surprised me. I didn't think Green Bay was going to come out as ferocious as they did, but this boy Aaron Rodgers is not playing, y'all. Don't play with him. Don't play with his money. Don't play with his money, because this cat is not to be toyed with. Because now they bring in a quarterback, and everybody's talking about, the future. Aaron Rodgers said, hold my beer. Hold my Corona beer, because the dude came out and slaughtered these cats. 364, 4 touchdowns. Devontae Adams just slicing and dicing. I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect when you go and draft a quarterback with your first pick, as if you're slapping this guy in the face? You the new head coach in town, and you slapping your freaking Super Bowl championship, Super Bowl MVP quarterback all up in his face with your new quarterback's little wiener, and you think he ain't gonna be ready to clap back at that? He gave you his answer. So Green Bay moves up. I like what I'm seeing. Baltimore, you know what? Picking up where they left off last year. It was against a clearly inferior team. Let's not get it twisted. Cleveland Browns, we expected this. Well, maybe most of us did. Some Cleveland fans out there. And, I apologize, but hey, I expected them to blow them the hell out, but not like 38-6 blowout, more like 38-14, 38-17 blowout. They beat the shit out these cats, but they're picking up from where they left off. So they pop up to number 2, and we all know who number 1 is. Until somebody beats them, that's probably where they're going to stay. Patrick Mahomes makes it look easy. Their offense is so high-powered. It's so versatile. It is so overwhelming for defenses to keep up with all the weapons that, it's going to take somebody just scoring more points because they have weapons on offense to really beat Kansas City. I don't think you're going to see a defense necessarily shut them down the entire season. I think you'll just see an offense that can meet them at that level of play, and whether by hook or crook with a field goal or maybe a turnover, they're able to pull out a win against them. But I don't see this team scoring less than 24 points in any game this season. And now that I've said that, that's going to happen in week 2. But that is the power ranking, folks. That's the power rankings. Look, here goes. This is one of my old teammates right here, Tutan Reyes, my old teammate in Jacksonville, mentor to me back in the day. Got much love for Tutan. Shout out to Tu. Appreciate you. I hear he's outside the country living that life right now, but appreciate you too. He said DK Metcalf is the truth. That's my old teammate there. Much love to him. That's going to be the podcast for today, everybody. I really do appreciate you guys sticking in here with me and checking out my podcast. Make sure you check it out. If you got friends who want to listen to it, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple iTunes, it's on Google Podcasts, it's on Anchor.fm. Any one of those major podcast platforms, you'll find it on. And also make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the Observer Lineman Uche Waneri. Got these new videos that have been dropping. I've been liking the traction it's been getting, so keep hitting that share button. Been seeing a nice little boost in subscribers, nice little boost on this journey. Really appreciate you guys. But we'll definitely be on next week. And next week, I'm hoping to have a couple of really special guests come on the show. And I will divulge that information to you guys as we get closer to it. One of them has a really great story. He's an old teammate, but he has a really great story that I really want people to hear. So I'm looking forward to having him on. Hopefully next week. But that's going to be it for me. Appreciate everybody. I'm your Reserve Lineman Uche Waneri, and I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.